Well, it's been a while. This is actually the first video I've done on this channel in Chex Notes 5 months. That's actually insane to me. Hello everyone, Metal Witcher, and I'm back with another type of rant video, or as I like to call it, admin lore, because, you know, I think that sounds a little I don't know. I just think that, I think that just sounds better than simply just a rant, because that a rant would imply that I'm mad about something or upset about something. So, anyways, yeah, as the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about the Elder Scrolls in a similar way that I've talked about Final Fantasy VII, Dragon Age, and Witcher in the past. I was actually going to do another video like this time talking about my experience with metal music. So, something that isn't related to gaming. I was gonna do that tonight in light of the recent news of Ozzy Osbourne passing away because he was just such a huge part of my existence to frame it dramatically. But I'll save that video for another day, probably tomorrow or maybe tonight, depending on how late I stay up, because I just have a feeling I'm not going to be able to get that much sleep tonight anyway. So, yeah, I want to talk about Elder Scrolls because I think that just like with metal, Elder Scrolls is a huge part of my life. That's how I feel about Dragon Age and Witcher, Final Fantasy. Baldur's Gate, Red Dead Redemption, Mass Effect. I know some people probably want me to do a similar video like this with Mass Effect. I actually have done one about Mass Effect in the past, but I did not like how it turned out, so I actually deleted it. I think a lot of it revolved around just talking about Tally and not enough about the actual series. So in the future, I will redo that video. And plus, I want to actually go back to that series and like properly record everything so that way I have background footage. The footage that you're seeing on the screen is from my current playthrough of Oblivion, and it's also from some of it's going to be from the remaster. I haven't really done too much on the remaster. Surprisingly, I've mainly just been on the PC the last few months, and I have the remaster on the PlayStation. When I do get when I upgrade my PC or when I get a new one, you know, if I ever can, I would love to get the remaster again on the PC, start modding it because I've seen some really good mods. Um, but yeah, let's deep dive into the admin lore and let's talk about Elder Scrolls, one of my favorite things to talk about. So, as I touched upon in my rant about Final Fantasy VII, I believe, I did talk about how Final Fantasy IX was one of the first RPGs, one of like the actual first good games that I played. Before this, my video game experience was very limited. I didn't really play too much. The first game that I ever like fully played through was actually Ratatouille on the Nintendo GameCube. I don't remember it. I don't remember playing it. The only thing I remember about that game is the mini games, and I hated them because I couldn't figure them out. Um, but then I after that I primarily just played like wrestling games because those were just fun. Because 2009 I was really starting to get into wrestling because my dad introduced me to it, and that was a good time to get introduced to it as a kid. 2010 though, my dad passed away, and it was a very rough time period. Very rough. But it was a month after he passed away that I received his final gift to me, which was a PS3. And with the PS3 came SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, which was the new WWE game that just came out near the end of the year that I really wanted to play. And I thought, wow, like this looked amazing on the PS3. The graphics and everything was shiny, brand new. It was still a very rough time period, and my mom, especially, she was struggling a lot. She was the one that introduced me to this game called The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I had never heard of it, and at that time, like I said, my video game knowledge was very limited, and what I did know, it was not nearly enough. But we had like the physical hard copy for the PS3. I was just looking at the case. I was like, wow, this looks really cool. This looks really interesting. And I don't remember exactly what drew me into it. I'm sure it was probably when I went into the living room and I saw my mom playing it, and she was just probably just doing like a quest or something. I do remember there was one day where I sat down and actually sat down and watched her play, and I was like trying to be like that helpful assistant, like, "Oh, good, you did this. Now you got to go back and talk to that person." She was getting kind of annoyed about it, but it was still fun. Eventually, though, I actually decided to make a character of my own. I don't remember the first character that I made. I really wish. I think I know I picked the sign of the Atronach, and I want to say it might have been a Breton. I honestly don't know. The only thing I remember from that first playthrough was that I hated the Atronach sign, but looking back at it now, it is actually kind of a good birth sign. Like it's not the best, but it's still all right. I was just, like I said, I was just I still am a dumb kid in a lot of ways, but yeah, I remember like when I finally made a character. Again, I truthfully don't remember what was the first character I made that actually stuck, because that first character I didn't really get far on, but I made another character, and then that's when it really started to click. I was still a kid though, and that game it just intimidated me, because it's just like when you say open world, it's like, oh crap, like you can actually go anywhere you want to go. You can do whatever you want to do. And that concept just kind of intimidated me because I didn't know like what to do. But then, I see the quest journal and it's like, oh, okay, like this is cool. So like I can just pick a quest and just but like I didn't want to do quests outside of the cities. Like I liked staying in those spaces because I felt safer. I know it sounds really stupid, but I eventually manned up, and I just started walking around. Like I just picked directions to walk in, and that's when the game really started to click to me. I just got lost in the exploration combined with the atmosphere and the timeless soundtrack. Still, it still gets me. And thankfully, Oblivion really isn't a complicated game, even for a young me to figure out. I mean, I was like, I wasn't that young, but like I still wasn't the brightest. I'm just being hard on myself. That's just part of who I am. But you know, I I really did enjoy playing Oblivion on the PS3. It got me through a very hard time period, and I'm always going to be grateful for it for that reason and a lot of other reasons. I just think it's a really good game looking back on it now. And my mom feels the same way, I'm sure. Probably way more in a lot of ways. And it was just a different time, I guess, less worries. And around that time, that's when I really started to experiment more with other games. That's when I started to push myself more, because I had a few friends, and we would all like lend each other games sometimes. Like that's how I discovered Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Played I think it was it was the second one. Me and my mom, we played that for a while. I had a really good friend too. We played PS2 games. Like we did a co-op run of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. We did the Ben 10 game. Like we played a lot of stuff. GTA, obviously. But I actually introduced that friend to Oblivion, and he felt the same way that I did. He was just mesmerized. He was just like, holy crap. And I love to, like, me and him, we were actually talking the other week, and I was just like, hey, did you see the remaster? And he's like, oh yeah, like I bought that as soon as I saw it revealed, and like I started playing it, and it's like, wow, man, it's like it never left, and I love that, you know, man. Um, as far as the game itself goes, it's obviously aged a little bit, especially by modern standards. Um, but for me, the appeal is just always going to be there in many different ways, but especially now because, now I'm like, okay, like I want to make a new character. Like, what class do I want to do? What birth sign do I want to do? What's the play style? How do I want to play on this character? Like, but then again, I am kind of set in my own ways. I'll probably just do like a Nord, because I just like playing as Nords, or I might do a Breton because it is kind of the best race to play in Oblivion because of the magic resistance. But when I was young, I didn't know anything. I was just like, oh, he looks cool. He has like, I really liked playing orcs and Argonians, and I really liked the non-human races. Now I'm kind of the opposite, but I still enjoy coming up with character concepts for those types of things. So yeah, I would just play Oblivion over and over again. I actually never did finish the main story until like 2022 for the first time, which is insane to me. Like I just never, and I still haven't done the DLCs either. Like I've been to the Shivering Isles, but I've never like really played through it. So that'll be something to really look forward to in the next over the next few weeks when I eventually get around to it. I mean, it's pretty much all I'm playing right now, so it shouldn't take that long, but still, it's just crazy that this game has been out for like almost 20 years or just over 20 years, something like that, and there's still stuff that I have yet to do in it, and I love that. And then we get to November 11th, 2011, the release of The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I actually remember very partially. I remember back in the day, which that sounds weird to say as a 24-year-old, but there was a gaming channel. I forget what it was called, but it would play upcoming trailers for games that were coming out later in the year, and I saw that. Me and my mom, we were watching it, and we both just looked at each other like, "Yep, we got to do it." So my mom, she actually pre-ordered it, and it was delivered to our house on the day. I think it was like around 8 or 9 in the morning. We were just waiting. Gets there right away. She was the first one to make her character, and it's just like to experience a game like Skyrim on the day that it came out, it still blows my mind, especially with considering how far the game has come. How many other games it's inspired, all the mods that have come out because of it, all the rage bait comments, it's just kind of funny. But yeah, I made my character later that night. I actually remember my first Skyrim character was an orc. I didn't really like it though. This was Skyrim was the game that really started the trend that I had back then, where I would make a lot of different characters, but I would never finish them. I would never like really get too far into them. But Skyrim, I made a character for each race, and I had only beaten the main story for the first time in 2012, and I think it was on a Breton character that I really liked playing as. I remember like because I was still kind of young, at least in that wuss kind of way, where I just didn't want to go into Bleak Falls Barrow because the Draugr legit terrified me a little bit. But I remember I finally like mustered up the courage to do it. I remember getting jump scared by the bats like as you enter the final boss room, and then once I beat the Death Lord, I was like, oh my god, I did it. You know, I just thought it's just so funny to look back on now. But yeah, Skyrim, it's just like Oblivion in a lot of ways. It's just a game that has been with me for a very long time. I mean, God, it's going to be 13 years or actually, no, it's going to be 14 years in November. Like, that's actually insane. Like, and then Oblivion, it's been with me for almost 15 years. Like, I just can't believe that. But yeah, playing Skyrim, it was interesting, you know. I remember I remember doing the main story and I remember this was good. I remember doing Alftand for the very first time. I was in my living room. All the lights were off. I'm going through the dungeon. It's so quiet in my house, and I'm just roaming around the dungeon. I reach like that ambush spot where you see the Falmer. I had never seen the Falmer up to that point, and I remember being legit terrified. And then that's not even counting the choruses. Like doing Frostfallow Lighthouse for the first time. That is just it's still nightmare fuel to me. Like that still gets me. I hate those things so much. And then 2012 comes around, Bethesda release their first re-release of Skyrim with the Legendary Edition, where you get the base game of Skyrim and you get the three DLCs all in one. So naturally, mom had to get it because we didn't know how to use the PlayStation Store to download DLCs back then, and plus we didn't have internet, so go figure. So my mom, she was actually able to load her character, and she was able to go right into the DLCs. Me, I think if knowing me, I probably decided to make a new character and then I experienced the DLCs that way. But man, doing Dawnguard, doing Dragonborn, and even doing Hearthfire for the very first time too, like that is just insane to think about. It's just insane to think about. Actually, no, I was wrong. That was 2013. I think they did do the Legendary Edition in 2012, but I don't think we actually got it until 2013. My bad. Starting to get my years mixed up. It happens. And from that point, that again, kind of just like with Oblivion, I started to expand my games. I played Dragon's Dogma for the first time, thanks to my mom as well. That's also when I started to get more into Dragon Age. I started with Dragon Age 2. We also got Dragon Age Origins. We actually got Origins and the Legendary Edition of Skyrim together, I think on the same day, both for the PS3, which was good. God, that PS3. I still have it. I don't think it works anymore, but I still have it. That's another huge part of my life. And all the hours spent on Oblivion and Skyrim, a lot of it was on that PS3. And I never want to get rid of it. Like, even if it just collects dust, I never want to get rid of it. So we fast forward a few years, 2017, me and my mom, we actually buy The Elder Scrolls Online. I know, it's an Elder Scrolls game. It is. I actually forgot to mention, I did try out Morrowind. on the original Xbox way back in 2011 as well. I did not like it as a child. I love it now as an adult, but it is still a game that is not my favorite to revisit. I hope it gets remastered next. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If it gets the same treatment as Oblivion, do it. Remaster that shit. Anyways, yeah, so me and mom, we bought The Elder Scrolls Online, and I remember we both didn't like it at first, obviously because it was an online game, but also because I just think that it was so different from what we were used to playing. But I remember giving it a chance first, and I actually got to level 20 just from grinding the PvP stuff in the Imperial City, and it was just in Cyrodiil, I guess. But I remember getting bored of it, and then my mom, she actually really got into it. Like she did all the Dark Brotherhood stuff. She was starting to do the Thieves Guild. Like I'm actually proud of her for doing as much as she did. Like she was really getting into it. And then I think what happened then was I unfortunately fell into the Overwatch rabbit hole, and that meant I was using the PS4 a lot more, and that I think that single-handedly was one of the biggest reasons my mom stopped playing because she loved using the PS4. And yeah, well, if I could just change a few things in my life, one of them would be to never play Overwatch because that was just a black hole. But it's a topic for another day. Eventually, I saw the light. Single player games would reign supreme in my life once again. It took a little bit, but I eventually worked my way back to the Elder Scrolls. I would still play it occasionally from time to time. In 2017, in fact, I actually did what I would consider my best playthrough of Skyrim because it was a platinum run. No mods, just playing through the game on the PS4 and getting every trophy. And I remember the day that I got to platinum. It was June 4th, 2017. And the last trophy I needed was to get a skill to level 100. I was just fighting this random dragon. I know the location in my head. I just don't remember the name of it. It was at like one of the dragon like the word walls, and the dragon's health bar, it was depleted technically, but it wasn't dying. However, my one-handed was still going up with every strike. So I just farmed that for like a good 5 or 10 minutes because it was already like at like 91 by that time. And then I got the platinum trophy, and I was just like, oh my god, like I was not expecting that. And yeah, that was good. I remember playing Ashes Remain in the background because I was really starting to get into them at that time. So that was like another nice core memory. That was before Overwatch. I remember telling my mom about that as soon as she got home. That was another thing too. Playing it on the PS4 meant that we got to experience mods for the first time. And oh boy, that's a whole other rabbit hole for Skyrim. It's easy to forget how long this series has been with me and just how much it really did help me through a lot of my life. And it still is. That's the thing. Like, I'm looking at my PC background right now, and it's like the cover art for the Oblivion remaster. And it's just like, God. So, anyways, we fast forward a little bit into the 2020s now, unfortunately, the time period where we all didn't want to be alive. um, and things are just kind of all over the place. But 2022, I lock in and I head back to Oblivion. No mods, just a good old fashioned run of Oblivion. And like I said earlier, it was the first time that I had ever dedicated myself to doing all of the guild quests, all the main quests, not the DLC, unfortunately, because I did get burnt out after finishing the main story. But it was just such a really cool experience, and that's what I'm doing again now in the year of our Lord 2025. It's just crazy to think about 3 years later. And yeah, again, I would like go on and off between Skyrim and Fallout 4. That's another topic for another time, but I don't really think that video would be as long because Fallout is still relatively new compared to Elder Scrolls because I was first introduced to Fallout through Fallout 4 and I was just like, "Oh, cool, it's Skyrim with guns." And it really is like that. So I would alternate between Fallout 4 and Skyrim a lot during 2016 and 2017. And it was kind of the same thing in 2022 until 2023. I would finally, well, 2022 and 2023, I would do two separate Skyrim playthroughs that were heavily modded. The first one in 2022, it was using the Goons mod list on Steam. If you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it. It's been updated a lot since then, but back then, before the anniversary edition on the 1.52 version of Skyrim, that was my favorite list because it had everything that I wanted and you could still add more to it without breaking up too much, which I really enjoyed. So that was fun. But um, eventually, I, I did start to get a little burnt out as it happens sometimes. You know, you just get burnt out playing the same game over and over again. Then 2023 comes around and I play another modded Skyrim playthrough, this time Nordic Souls. And to this day, I think that it's probably the best way to play Skyrim. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. But it is a pretty damn good list. And I actually got over 100 hours on that run. And then, on, I was going to say unfortunately, but fortunately, I should say, a really good buddy of mine, he introduced me to Baldur's Gate 3, and he actually bought the game for me, which he really shouldn't have done, but, you know, that's just the type of friend he is, and I'll always love him for it. No homo. Um, yeah, so he introduced me to Baldur's Gate 3, and I started playing it, and I was just like, you know what? Skyrim, I love you, but now I want to play this. And, you know, I still don't regret doing that because, unfortunately, as it is with Skyrim, sometimes you eventually reach a point where the game will just start to stop working, unfortunately, and that sucks. Like, it'll just start crashing and all this other stuff. So, that kind of sucked. It really sucked, but I was still proud of everything that I was able to do. So, yeah. It's kind of a sneak peek for another future video talking about Baldur's Gate 3. I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about it. And yeah, again, kind of just like with 2016, where I was like alternating between a few different games. It was, I would still go back to Skyrim and I would still go back to Fallout and go back to Oblivion sometimes. December of 2024, I started a brand new playthrough of Oblivion with the last Seed Wabbajack mod list. I'm still playing on it because just like Nordic Souls, I personally feel like it's the best way to play original Oblivion because it just adds everything that I want and more while still feeling cohesive and stable. That's the key word, stable. And then And then we get to this year. I honestly forget the month. What was it, March? I want to say it was March. I don't remember. The Oblivion remaster, Shadow drops, and releases. And I'm watching that live stream. My mom was in the other room. I saw that release date, it said available now. I legit screamed. I have the reaction on my phone. And as soon as I saw that it was available on the PlayStation Store, I looked at my bank account. I was like, you know what? I have to do it. And I did it. I don't regret I still don't regret it because Oblivion, Elder Scrolls, just such a huge part of my life. And then I played the remaster, obviously the same day, waited all day because our internet, at least on the PS5, just sucks for downloading. Um, and I remember moving the PlayStation in the living room, and I wanted my mom to play it first, and she did. She wasn't feeling too great physically, but she still made her character first, and just playing through the opening again. This time with the remaster, like the visuals and even some of the gameplay improvements and the character creation, especially. It was just much needed, and it just breathes a whole lot of new life into the game. Like, I still have my own little issues with the remaster, especially with, like, sometimes some of it is with the visuals, but I still think that it's just so refreshing to go back to a game that is one of those games that could have actually benefited from a remaster, and it actually gets one, and it still looks good, even if it might have some stability issues here and there. Like, it still feels like Oblivion, and it's like the game is how we pictured it looking all those years ago, like when we were young playing it for the first time. And I love that. And it helps that the platinum is actually pretty easy. Like, you just got to do all the guild quests and all the main quests, then boom, easy peasy, platinum done. And all the DLC quests. So that is definitely on my to-do list for this year. And yeah, that's pretty much my experience with the Elder Scrolls up to this point, but it's technically not stopping there because while I've been recording this video, I'm actually downloading a new mod list for Skyrim, Gate to Sovngarde, which is available on Nexus Mods. I've heard a lot of really good things about it, so I'm gonna try it out. I mean, thankfully, for the sake of my sanity, it's not like over 300 gigs worth of mods. Like, it's only like 51, so that's great. Um, but yeah, like, pretty much, like, for the rest of this year, I really just want to play stuff, like play something that I know for sure I'm not only going to enjoy, but like I just appreciate the simplicity of just going into a video game world, getting lost in it, and still having fun, but also just being immersed, I guess. I I I was very adamant on making Baldur's Gate 3 that game for this year because I'm close to 1,000 hours on Steam, and I really want, I still do want to do another playthrough of it, but I feel like with Baldur's Gate 3, it's a game that is a lot more time consuming than a game like Oblivion, or at least it feels like it's more time consuming. It's just, it's like it's one of those games that it just feels like it takes more time to plan stuff out when it's a game. I can't English. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout, just Bethesda games in general, they just put less of a strain on me. And honestly, I also have to think about my PC. My PC is good, but it's also it's getting a little older now, and Baldur's Gate 3 is a pretty big game, even without mods. So, but that's a topic for another day. When it comes to Elder Scrolls, again, there is just not enough words I can use to properly describe how grateful I am for this series and for the amount of times it has really helped me through, like, just to put it simply, like really shitty times in my life. And it's still helping me out. Like, this has been a really rough week for me at the time of recording. And I remember just looking at Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm just like, no, it's not your time right now. And I remember booting up Oblivion and I was just like, I loaded my save. I think I was in Coral, like doing the Fighters Guild stuff. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, like this is the move right now. Like I need something simple. I just need something to ease my mind back into games because over these last few months, I have felt so drained physically, mentally, spiritually, like, and I just haven't been able to enjoy playing games the same way. Like, I feel like my dopamine receptors are just fried right now. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Like, my enjoyment levels just haven't been the same lately. And, it could just be because I'm getting older, but also I just, it just feels like life is doing its best to break me down in a lot of different ways. But in any case, I'm still extremely grateful for Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. I haven't mentioned, I did actually try playing Arena and Daggerfall way back when, and just like Morrowind, I did not enjoy it. But unlike Morrowind, I didn't even really try playing those two games for long. I know Daggerfall is, probably the best in the series, and the first one's a classic, but it's just not for me. I'm sorry. It's just not for me. Um, but yeah, I just I just enjoy Elder Scrolls, and I saw, like, I think it was the day after Ozzy Osbourne passed away. That's I think, like, the lead creator of Elder Scrolls, he passed away from cancer, and that's a big loss, because look at the cultural impact of even just Skyrim alone, like not just Elder Scrolls, but like, it's just crazy to think about. As I sit here, I was just thinking about like the rest of the games that I want to play for this year. It's really just Oblivion, Skyrim, maybe Elder Scrolls Online, maybe Fallout 3 and New Vegas because season 2 of the show comes out in December. I would like to squeeze in a Dragon Age playthrough at some point. And then obviously Baldur's Gate as well, but might wait a little bit longer on that. Maybe at least until I upgrade my PC. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got right now. So, anyways, if you stayed till the end, I really appreciated it. And even if you just clicked on the video just to see what's what, I still appreciate that. I enjoy doing these types of videos. I mean, it feels nice to just let stuff out, and I enjoy talking about these kinds of things. It's part of my life, and I'm grateful just for being able to experience these. So that being said, I'm done, and I will see y'all in the next video. Talk to you later.